Hi, Recapped Uncut here. Today I'm going to explain an action dinosaur movie called 65. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care.
The movie opens on a planet named Ceres, where a young girl, Naveen, practices hand whistling on a beach while her parents, Mills and Alia, watch her proudly. And we learn that Mills is about to leave on a 2-year space exploration mission he hasn't yet told his daughter about. The couple is anxious because Mills has never been away that long and is only doing this to pay for Naveen's medical treatment since she is ill. Later, Mills talks to Naveen and teaches her how to whistle, during which she admits she knows he's leaving again and believes it is because of her, but he reassures her that it won't be for too long, and the two share several warm memories before his departure. Sometime later, Mills is seen piloting a spaceship while the rest of the crew remains in cryogenic sleep, when suddenly the ship enters an asteroid belt and an alarm sounds as debris crashes through the hull and damages the vessel. Mills desperately tries to regain control of the failing systems but fails, leaving him no choice but to make an emergency landing on an unknown planet. As the ship crashes toward the surface, it splits in half and Mills remembers his daughter before losing consciousness. When he wakes up later, he removes a metal shard from his stomach, treats his injuries, puts on his spacesuit, and investigates the wreckage, only to discover the cryopods are gone. Armed with a weapon, he goes outside and is horrified to find the dead bodies of his entire crew, after which he checks his coordinates and sends a distress signal before removing his suit. The planet's air is breathable, but a devastated Mills nearly shoots himself until he watches video messages sent by his daughter, breaking down in tears. Soon after, he receives a signal from a survivor capsule and rushes to its location, where he finds a cryopod containing a little girl who is still alive. He pulls the unconscious girl out and carries her back towards the remains of the ship. On the way, he notices the print of a huge paw in the ground, which leaves him, well, confused. In a shocking twist, we learn that the planet Mills has landed on is none other than Earth, and the events of the movie take place 65 million years before the present timeline, during the age of dinosaurs. The next day, Mills tries to locate the half of the spaceship that contains the escape pods, but the scanner fails to detect it. He thus goes out to explore the surrounding area and soon comes across the massive skeletal remains of a giant creature, which appears to have died right on top of a geyser after the hot water erupted. And it would be a long time before a dinosaur trusted a bidet again. As he moves forward, he catches a sudden flash of light in the distance. He scans the area and soon realizes that the other half of the spaceship lies far away up in the mountains. At this moment, Mills is suddenly attacked by a raptor, but he easily manages to overpower the animal and beats it to death. While Mills is returning to the ship, he hears noises coming from the woods, but it turns out to be the girl whom he rescued last night. Mills tries to approach her, but the girl immediately starts running away, leading to a chase. Soon, both of them roll down a slope and land near the carcass of a dinosaur. All of a sudden, they hear a deep grunt and notice a massive dinosaur approaching, prompting them to run away. Upon returning to the ship, Mills tends to the girl's wounds and asks for her name, but she speaks in a language that he doesn't understand. He checks the ship's passenger list and learns that her name is Koa, which she also confirms. Mills then explains that the only way to leave the planet is to find the escape pod, which is located at the top of a mountain. Since she doesn't understand him, he snorts, makes some drawings, which finally helps her to grasp the idea. She also makes a drawing and asks about her parents, so Mills tells her that they are in the mountains as well and teaches her the word family. Afterwards, Mills records a new distress message explaining that he has found a girl who is alive and requesting assistance. In another room, Koa discovers some video messages from Naveen to her father and begins eagerly watching them. It turns out that Mills had already completed his exploration mission and was returning home after 2 years when the spaceship crashed. The messages appear cheerful at first, but soon Naveen is shown very sick and visibly distraught over her father's absence, but before Koa can watch further, Mills arrives and turns off the video before urging her to get moving. Following this, Mills carries some small bombs and the two begin walking through the woods filled with dangerous creatures. During the journey, Koa notices something glowing in the sky, but she doesn't give it much attention. She soon finds some berries in the woods and starts throwing them at Mills to tease them. He puts one into the scanner and discovers that the berries are poisonous. Mills thus scolds the girl and warns her not to play with the berries, which she also understands somehow, even though she doesn't speak English. Sometime later, the two spot a small dinosaur trapped in a swamp, and Koa immediately rushes to help it despite Mills warning her not to. However, he also eventually joins her, and together they manage to free the struggling creature. But the dinosaur can't get far before it is suddenly attacked by a pack of predators who begin tearing it apart. Koa is horrified by the brutal scene and starts crying, so Mills quickly grabs her and hides behind a nearby stump to avoid attracting the predators' attention. After the creatures finally leave, Mills and Koa continue their journey and soon stop at the shore of a stream. When their water bottle runs empty, Mills asks Koa to fill it from the river. It must be clean, it won't kill us. She obliges, during which Mills watches her with fondness and misses his own daughter. Later, Koa returns with a flower along with the water and tries to place it in his hair. Mills recuses at first. "No, you'll make me look gay." But when he sees her looking disappointed, he finally lets her tuck the flower into his hair. Next, the two continue their journey, but soon Mills loses track of the other half of the spaceship, so he decides to climb a tree to scan the area. He manages to locate the ship, but suddenly a swarm of bugs crawls onto his hand. As he tries to shake them off, he loses his balance and falls to the ground, dislocating his shoulder. A planet of dinosaurs, and the bugs are what got him. Groaning in pain, Mills limps back to the tree, but at this moment a group of dangerous dinosaurs appears nearby. Mills thus makes Koa step on his arm, after which he finally manages to fix his shoulder. He then begins shooting at the approaching dinosaurs, but seeing that there are too many, he tells Koa to run to safety. Following this, Koa immediately runs away and hides next to a trunk while Mills throws bombs at the dinosaurs. Meanwhile, Koa listens to the sounds of shooting, but soon realizes that more dinosaurs have appeared nearby. The poor girl tries to escape, but they relentlessly chase her and get very close. Just when all hope seems lost, Mills arrives and kills all of them with his gun. Unfortunately, one of the dinosaurs survives and grabs Koa before dragging her into the woods. Mills immediately gives chase and scares the creature away with a shot while managing to rescue Koa. The whole experience leaves the little girl shaken, so even though Mills cannot communicate with her, he stays by her side to provide comfort. Sometime later, it becomes dark, and Mills teaches Koa to make whistles with her hands, just like he used to teach his daughter. The two then continue on their journey, and after walking for a while, they find a cave where they decide to spend the night. There, Mills sets up some motion sensors to warn him of any nearby danger, and checks the navigator. He discovers that the asteroid that caused the crash is not the biggest problem, as there is a giant asteroid heading straight for the planet. This makes him worried, but just then Koa distracts him by showing that she took a disc which contains the video messages from Naveen. Mills gets angry at her for taking it without permission, which makes Koa upset as well. Eventually, Mills turns on the recording and they begin watching Naveen's hologram projection to find comfort amid the crisis. Later, while Mills is trying to sleep, he recalls when Aaliyah contacted him to tell him that Naveen had died in the hospital, causing him to break down in tears. That night, the motion sensors detect movement, which wakes up Mills. He approaches Koa, who is sleeping, but foam is coming from her mouth, which makes him worry. Mills quickly opens her mouth and finds an insect inside, which he carefully pulls out. However, the danger is not over, as there is a huge dinosaur near the entrance to the cave. Mills quickly shoots and hurts the creature's one eye, so the angry dinosaur now begins to knock down the cave. The duo thus heads deep into the cave where the huge predator won't be able to enter. Mills now uses his device to look for an exit route, but soon comes across many smaller dinosaurs inside, which are also dangerous. The duo thus once again begins running deeper inside, and soon they reach a dead end. A frustrated Mills now tries to dig and expand the cave, but it is not easy and hours pass without progress. However, Koa is very determined, and she tries to dig further in a desperate attempt to find her family. Upon seeing this, Mills admits that he lied and her parents are not waiting at the mountain. But Koa doesn't understand the language and continues digging, which makes the man feel bad. Next, Mills comes up with an idea and uses the small bombs to expand the cave, which finally works. After the successful expansion of the passage, Mills gives the girl a couple of bombs just in case they get separated. The two then begin to crawl along the narrow path, but unfortunately the explosion destabilizes the rocks. The cave suddenly begins to collapse, which causes both of them to separate. Mills is worried for the girl and fears that she might have died, but he soon hears Koa making the whistling sound, making him relieved. Following this, Mills looks for another route to leave, but on the way he comes across a massive dinosaur, which he had scared earlier with gunshots. It is very dark and Mills can't see much, so he activates proximity scanning on his device and detects that the dinosaur is behind him. A fierce fight breaks out between them, during which the dinosaur makes Mills drop his gun before the guy even gets a chance to shoot. The animal then begins biting his arm, but Mills fights it off and soon reaches for his scanner, which emits a high-pitched sound. This distracts the dinosaur, during which Mills retrieves his gun and shoots the animal to death. The scene then cuts to Koa, who is wandering in the woods and finds a huge bone. She takes it as a weapon and covers it with poisonous berries before wrapping it in a large leaf. She then puts it in her backpack and continues her journey. While on the other hand, Mills finally leaves the cave. He sees a bright object in the sky and uses his device to scan it. The device informs him that a catastrophic impact from the asteroid is imminent and that they have roughly 12 hours to escape. The worried man now goes to look for Koa and soon hears her screaming as she is approached by a dinosaur. Mills immediately rushes to help her but stumbles into the swamp, which begins to suck him up. Elsewhere, Koa hides inside a dried up tree, which turns out to be a trap for the dinosaur. As soon as the animal enters, she leaves and blocks the entrance before throwing the small bombs inside. This causes an explosion in which the dinosaur is killed. Koa then hears Mills screaming and we see him sinking into the swamp with only his head above the surface. At the last moment, Koa tilts a fallen branch toward him, allowing the man to pull himself free. Mills hugs her and thanks her, then points to the asteroid blazing across the sky, which means that they must hurry. Following this, they continue forward, and as night falls, the sky is strewn with the first meteors. Soon they reach a steep cliff where Mills helps the girl climb up so she can secure the rope. She then ties the rope onto a huge rock and throws it down for him to climb as well. The two eventually reach the missing half of the ship, where Mills checks the escape pods and confirms that they are operational. He then receives a message stating that a rescue spaceship is on its way, which leaves him relieved. However, Koa is not happy as she begins to look for her parents, whom she cannot find anywhere, and the cryopods are destroyed. She grows furious with Mills for lying to her as the sky suddenly lights up with meteors burning through the thick atmosphere. Mills then comforts the grieving girl and begins to talk about his daughter. He says that he went on the exploration mission to earn money for her treatment, but she passed away anyway, leaving him devastated. Mills breaks down and promises to take the girl home, and even though Koa doesn't understand his words, she feels his sadness and hugs him. At this moment, a meteorite lands in a nearby forest, which is just one of many fragments from a massive asteroid heading toward the planet. This panics the duo, who quickly jump into the escape pod and prepare for takeoff. Suddenly, 2 meteorites strike the ship, causing them to fall from the mountain. Mills is knocked unconscious during the process, and when Koa tries to initiate takeoff, the computer informs her that launch is impossible in their current position. Moments later, Mills finally wakes up, but before they can escape, a massive T-Rex appears and begins attacking the pod. Mills notices that his weapon is outside, so he unbuckles and rushes out to retrieve it. He attempts to shoot the dinosaur, but the weapon fails to activate. To make matters worse, another T-Rex appears and joins the attack. When I saw this movie in theaters, at this point, this guy shouted, "Oh my god, there's 2!" While the 2 dinosaurs sniff each other, Mills takes cover behind a piece of ship and quickly reprograms the gun. Moments later, the dinosaurs crush the area where Mills is hiding, leaving him badly injured. He feels very trapped and helpless. When Koa grabs his device and projects a holographic projection of Naveen, who is delivering a message about how much she loved him. This overwhelms Mills with emotion as the 2 T-Rexes mistake the hologram for a real creature and try to attack it, creating chaos all around. Using the distraction to their advantage, Mills and Koa suddenly strike back, with Koa leaping forward and stabbing the dinosaur in the eye using the bone she had earlier stuffed with poisonous berries. The massive creature roars in agony, and just then, the geyser erupts once more, blasting a surge of boiling water straight into its mouth and burning the dinosaur alive. After narrowly surviving the encounter, the exhausted duo breathes a sigh of relief and make their way back to the escape pod, launching immediately into space. Moments later, a gigantic asteroid crashes into Earth, triggering a catastrophic explosion that ultimately leads to the extinction of the dinosaurs. As they head toward the rescue ship waiting for them, Mills closes his eyes and recalls precious final memories of his daughter. And for a brief second, it seems like he might give in to his injuries, but Koa, gripping his hand, pulls him back to consciousness. Together, they leave Earth's atmosphere behind and travel toward an uncertain future. The film 65 ends by showing the planet's transformation from the devastation of the asteroid impact through a frozen ice age and finally into modern civilization, humorously implying that Adam Driver is born to star in this very movie, suggesting that the terrifying cycle continues once again.